This is Wired. I was trapped in Chinese mafia crypto slavery hack lab.
A whistleblower trapped inside this scam compound run by the Chinese mafia contacted me.
If they catch me, they actually kill me.
Determined to leak his captured secrets in real time. He would ultimately deliver an unprecedented cache of evidence.
This is a major deal.
Exposing the tactics and hierarchy of a slave colony here in northern Laos, where trafficked workers are forced to scam millions from American victims. But first, he had to make it out alive. I'm Andy Greenberg. I investigate the strange, dark, and subversive sides of technology for Wired. This is Hack Lab, the whistleblower inside a crypto scam slave compound. This footage was secretly filmed inside a scam compound in northern Laos. The workers you see are trafficking victims, confined to the compound and forced to work 15-hour night shifts synced to US daytime hours. Their job is to target Western victims with text messages that lure them into fake crypto investments, sometimes stealing hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. The color of the flags on their desks marks whether a team of scammers is meeting their quotas. It's part of a cruel system of incentives and coercion that drives the most lucrative form of cybercrime in the world. The video was shot by a source who first contacted me last June. It all started with an email, no subject line, sent from an address on the encrypted email service Proton Mail. Hello, it began. I'm currently working inside a major crypto romance scam operation based in the Golden Triangle. The unnamed source said he was a computer engineer trapped in the compound, forced to work as a scammer. I've collected internal evidence of how the scam works step by step, he said. I want to help shut this down. I knew only a little bit about the Golden Triangle, a lawless stretch of Laos bordering Myanmar and Thailand, dominated by Chinese syndicates that traffic in everything from drugs to human organs. But after 15 years of covering crypto crime as a reporter, I learned that crypto romance scams, known as pig butchering, drain tens of billions of dollars a year from victims. Behind this scam epidemic are hundreds of thousands of trafficked workers from the poorest regions of Asia and Africa, forced by the Chinese mob to carry out these scams inside dystopian slave compounds. What I didn't know, what no one had ever seen before, was what this industry looked like from the inside, from the perspective of a whistleblower sharing internal information in real time. I gave the source my number on the encrypted messaging app Signal. That night, after my kids were asleep, my phone lit up. The source began sending documents, flowcharts, scripts, internal guides that revealed step-by-step how the scams worked. Fake Facebook profiles, AI-generated deepfakes, and hired models. Carefully scripted affection, luring victims into...
Dang, and it's only gotten worse since then. It's only gotten worse since then, now that AI can literally take the majority of the workload off of
fake
everyone.
Trading platforms. And then my phone rang. Hello.
How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for being willing to talk. What is your name, or what can I call you?
You can call me Red Bull, okay?
Oh, Red Bull? Red Bull?
Yeah, yes.
Later, he'd tell me he'd been looking at an empty can of the energy drink as we spoke. Okay, okay. He said he'd contacted US and Indian authorities, Interpol, several news outlets.
Not gonna do anything.
I was the only one who responded.
Not simple thing, yeah. Like big scale, very big scale.
Wow.
So you are the person I share my everything with you, okay? And you helped me to expose this, right?
I was thrown off. My mind was reeling. I started a new call, this time with video enabled. I needed to see who I was talking to. Hey. So, he showed me. Thank you for picking up the phone. Good to see you. Red Bull told me his backstory. He was in his early 20s from India with a diploma in computer engineering. He'd been recruited with a fake job offer, IT manager, good salary.
I would be afraid of showing my face. I would seriously be afraid of showing my face, because hopefully he got out of there before this video went posted, because as soon as they find out that they, again, they have no problem. They have no problem putting him in an even worse situation. Or making him disappear. They have no problem with that.
Overseas opportunity. But when he arrived in Laos, his passport was taken by his bosses. Like, can you walk around a bit? Like, turn your camera around and show me out the window.
This is the building here.
Now he found himself trapped within a cluster of ugly concrete buildings known as the Boshang compound in northern Laos. Like most pig butchering scammers, he'd pretend to be a wealthy woman online. His job was to build trust, manufacture intimacy, slowly guide victims towards fake crypto investment platforms run by his bosses.
So please keep it secret, okay? Don't tell anyone.
Okay.
So right now my mission is, brother, expose this.
No, thank you for trusting me.
Remember me in your prayers, and I have a lot of trust on you.
Don't take any unnecessary risks, please, and
Okay, no problem.
thank you very much. The next morning, after a few hours sleep, I reached out to Aaron West, a former prosecutor who now runs an anti-scam group called Operation Shamrock.
How was he able to make this call?
He had to ask for permission from his boss to go to a hotel, but he did. And then he showed me the front of this hotel. It was too blurry, but it was a Chinese sign.
It's all Chinese organized crime, and they move into locations and they literally take over everything is in Chinese. All the food around there is Chinese.
He had to show me a fake Chinese ID that they created for him. Wes had talked to survivors of scam compounds, she told me. She'd never heard of an actual whistleblower within a compound leaking information to a journalist.
This is a major deal.
He seems to be saying that like a lot of the victims, or maybe even all of them, are Indian American.
They do that. They do Malaysians on Malaysians. They do Japanese on Japanese. And here's someone on the inside who's willing to share this information and tell us everything about how this whole thing runs.
From that point on, Red Bull and I fell into a routine. Every morning, New York time, late night.
It's disgusting what people are willing to do for money. It's disgusting. Like I was gonna say I understand when someone scams somebody, but this is literally forcing slavery. This is literally forcing slavery, so people literally go against their own morals to take people's life savings because they're afraid of losing their own lives. They're afraid of losing their own lives. It's literally people that have no morals, have no sense of justice, have no sense of, well, they have a complete sense of superiority, view everyone else as lesser, have no problem using slave labor and using people's survival instincts against them to fight against everything that's going on. Everything that's going on, because they want to live. So they are not going to fight. They are not going to fight against it. Why? They want to live. They want to live. That's why I was like, I see his picture and I'm just like, well, prayers go out to him, because if the organization finds out about this, he's not going to live. And that's the thing. His face is out there. His face is out there. There's probably a high probability that there's a bounty out on him, depending on how much money has been lost due to this this as a whistleblower.
In Laos, he would walk outside his dorm and call me on Signal before heading to the cafeteria for dinner, the start of a work shift that would last until the afternoon of the next day. Sometimes Red Bull would tell me to record my screen. Then he would walk into the building and secretly film his surroundings while pretending to talk to his uncle. I got a tour through the bright lights of the Bosham office's lobby and stairwells, the lines of depressed-looking South Asian and African men lining up for food in its canteen. As they filed into the office, team leaders took employees' personal phones and put them in a box when they began their shifts, and they were strictly prohibited from taking work devices out of the office. But otherwise, the surveillance of staffers seemed surprisingly loose. The compound ran on a system of indentured servitude and debt, not shackles and chains. On the surface, it didn't look like the modern slavery I'd read about elsewhere. Instead, the whole operation felt more like a scene from Sorry to Bother You, a grotesque parody of a corporate sales floor. Bosses would post motivational messages to an office-wide WhatsApp group. They wrote things like, "Every day brings a new opportunity, a chance to connect, to inspire, and to make a difference. Talk to that next customer like you're bringing them something valuable, because you are." There were promises of commissions and getting rich, but in reality, the system kept workers trapped in debt. Red Bull, or Ma Chao, the pseudonym in the compound, earned in yuan about $500 a month, then lost almost all of it to daily fines, usually for missing quotas. Red Bull told me he had never successfully scammed anyone. That meant he was fined so much that he was virtually broke and forced to subsist almost entirely on the food in the office cafeteria, mostly rice and vegetables that he said tasted of strange chemicals. Even that food, he said, was denied to anyone who so much as arrived late to their shift. Underneath the pretense of a voluntary sales force was a brutal system. The bosses held the workers' passports so no one could go home until they paid off their debt. Red Bull had heard of colleagues who were beaten or electrocuted, even one sold into prostitution.
Even like if they people know about me, I am talking with you, they definitely kill me without any reason.
Well, I will not publish anything then until you're free, right?
I don't want to go home without stop this, understand?
I just want to make sure that we can do this investigation slowly and carefully together.
Okay.
Red Bull secretly installed Signal on his work computer, changing the name and icon to look like a shortcut to its hard drive, and sent me messages during his shifts with disappearing texts set to erase themselves after 5 minutes. Soon I was receiving a steady stream of pictures, screenshots, and videos. A spreadsheet and photos of a whiteboard on which his team's work was tracked, with scam totals in the thousands of dollars next to many of the group's nicknames. I learned that the term recharge meant scamming the same victim again. He sent me a photo of a Chinese ceremonial drum on a stand. When someone pulled off a big scam, 6 figures, sometimes even more, the scammer was allowed to strike it to celebrate.
You know, they give them little incentives. Little incentives. This is literally social programming. It is social programming. You give them little cues to let them know they're doing something good. You give them little bits of, oh, you've made a bit of extra money this time around. You get this reward. More and more things just to make them shackled. But there's nothing, like, there's no difference between golden shackles and iron shackles, other than the metal you're tied down with. They're all the same. They are all the same. And the problem is, a lot of people are willing to do anything as long as they get the golden shackles. It makes no sense to me. They sacrifice their morality. They sacrifice their just human decency just to have golden shackles. And so many people are willing to do that just to survive. Just to survive. I mean, this guy, Red Bull, was sacrificing everything. He had rusted iron chains on and was still fighting. more so than those with, again, maybe some of those had silver chains. They just put their head down, they do their job, they go home until the day they die in that slave camp, because there is no leaving. There is no leaving.
Later, Wired analyzed Red Bull's leaked data.
We had all these screenshots, right, of all of these text conversations that Red Bull's team was having. Each post has a profile picture next to it. And what we're able to do is use machine learning to identify each individual post in that image and extract both the message and who was sending it.
And in fact, they posted a special message every time they successfully scammed someone and included the amount of the scam and who had pulled it off.
And so we were able to find those specific posts and then take the numbers that they had announced in each individual post and add them together.
And what is the result?
These few dozen workers pulled in over $2.2 million over the course of 3 months.
My colleagues and I also studied the dozens of internal scam scripts that Red Bull sent, blueprints of how their fraud worked in chilling detail, how to create fake profiles, how to open conversations, stall video calls until deepfake models who worked in a specific room of the building were ready.
The scripts have line-by-line dialogues, so the scammers know how to go through an interaction like to a really granular degree. And there are lists of topics for making conversation, documents like 100 chat topics. What's your favorite group photo that you've taken with friends? Or have you recently bought something nice for yourself? But then it gets into these much more emotionally evocative questions. What was your dream when you were little? Or what was the last time I cried for?
Some scripts covered the use of cryptocurrency and how to coach victims to distrust their own banks when they issued fraud warnings.
Your bank might say that there's something wrong with this, but like, don't listen to them. That's just because they don't want you moving your money out of their financial institution and into cryptocurrency or into this other thing. It's this sort of inoculation and preparing them in advance. Can you believe my bank said this might be a financial scam or crypto scam or something? It's like a really wild psychological trick. Well, a scammer wouldn't talk about scamming. That would be nuts.
I mean, a lot of these documents are fully in Chinese. So Ziggy, you were helping us out as a native Chinese speaker by analyzing a lot of them, including this website that was really interesting that is kind of massive collection online of scam stuff.
Yeah, so this is like a public website that anyone can open and look into it. It's designed in a way that if you're a scammer, you're trying to answer a question that just came up, you can literally search the topic, refer to this guy, and talk in a very convincing way. So if you are a straight male persona talking to a woman, or you're a straight woman talking to a man, or even when you're a gay man talking to another gay man, this is what you should say to look more real, right? And they also break it down into topics like, okay, what to talk about your...
They have a whole website with an algorithm to help you out. There must be money in that for that in it. There must be a lot of money in it for that. The fact that they have an entire website is just insane.
Dinner last night, or your 401k, or your mortgage. And the other funny thing about this website is that it also has the section for the music playlist for people to listen to.
This is Spotify for scammers, among other things?
That's a very accurate description. It's like a playlist of like hundreds of hours of electronic music that you can play when you're busy scamming other people.
I mean, these are 15-hour night shifts, so you can imagine that they're like trying to get people to kind of tune out the rest of the world. The bosses micromanaged the fiction. One message coached workers to explain when their persona was traveling and why. Another warned not to mention what car you drive unless you can produce a convincing photo of it. What's really wild is that every single one of the workers is required to post their schedule for the day to their bosses, and not their actual real life schedule, but the schedule of their persona, like their morning yoga and meditation and setting positive intentions, and then lunchtime with family and dentist visits and gym time. The irony, of course, is
The thing is, I have trouble writing a schedule like that for myself. The fact that they have to create it for the multitude of personas they got, that's insane. That's insane. For me, I'm like, I wake up, I go to work, I do my job, I come home, I eat, I stream, I exercise, I go. And the fact that they had it like hour to quarter hour, like insane. I could barely think of how to write it down.
in reality, these poor guys are spending 15 hours in a fluorescent lit office, hunched over a keyboard, spamming out messages, and then going home to a dorm room with 5 other guys on bunks and a toilet in the corner of the room. Red Bull sent me screenshots too of internal chats and the tragic responses from the lonely victims, begging, confused, crying. Messages said, "Always had a dream of having a girlfriend, then wife like you. You stopped talking to me. I will continue praying for your mom. Please help me withdraw my money, okay? Question mark, question mark, question mark." Crying emojis. One victim appeared to have recorded himself sobbing in his car after losing everything. The video was shared around the office for laughs. So in total, how many scammers are there in the whole Boshong compound?
In whole Golden Triangle, 500 plus offices, 50, 60 buildings, okay? In my office, there is 100 employees.
Okay.
And each team have one Chinese boss and one Indian professional person.
Red Bull was part of Team Elite, one of about a dozen teams with names like Team Invincible, Team Money, Team Excellent, and so on. He explained that his supervisor was an Indian man with a short beard and aviator glasses who went by the name Amani. Amani's supervisor was nicknamed Wu Wan, or 50K, a short Chinese man with a paunch, tight pants, and a tattoo on his chest. Other bosses went by the names Li Bo, Wang Zai, Yanzu, and 50K's boss was called Dahai, or Si. The boss above all of them was known as Ah Lang, but Red Bull never saw him in person.
He's very big and very powerful person. He also doing here organs, organ supply,
Really?
human organs.
Sometimes
Of
when Red
course.
Bull and I would speak or text, he'd call me uncle.
Don't worry, uncle, I will be back.
A cover story in case anyone ever overheard or seized his phone. For a while, we even tried a different cover story of me pretending
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that. I mean, at that point in time, you are an uncle to him. You are an uncle to him. You are a family by extension. You're the one person he can rely on and talk to. I mean, it's a term of endearment, especially in India. So I think that's primarily what it was. He's his uncle. He's his uncle. He's the person he can reach out to for aid. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have those aunties and uncles that they can go to and they can just sit down and have a chat with because they know they could always hold their secrets or always try to give them good advice and sometimes bad advice depending on the type of uncle you're going to. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It's primarily a term of endearment, not so much a cover story.
to be secret girlfriend back home. Heart emojis and misuse until it became too embarrassing to keep up and we scrapped it. It also reminded me a bit too much of the fraud romances his team was carrying out. One night he sent me a kind of gentle parting message.
Good night, rest easy. You have done enough for today. Let your mind rest and let tomorrow come with fresh clarity and quiet strength.
I'll admit, it was actually a bit touching. I wasn't getting much sleep at the time. Then the next day, he told me that this line had been copied directly from ChatGPT. Red Bull explained how the compound used that AI tool and others like DeepSeek to keep conversations flowing endlessly to sound caring, romantic, persuasive. All of the scammers on his team were trained to use these LLMs to clean up their language, find just the right sentiment, and never run out of inviting turns of phrase. It had clearly worked on me. It's funny how easy it is to be taken in by a bit of sympathetic text sent by a new acquaintance on the other side of the world. As time passed and the collection of
I'm not going to lie. I'm so glad that I have that kind of disconnect where, sadly, I don't like calling. I don't like texting. I don't like video chatting. My thing is like, I like seeing people. I like seeing people face to face. Like, I could care less about being on the phone with someone. I could care less about texting somebody. I need to actually be face to face with someone. That's how I handle it. So for me, no matter what, because again, I have gotten so many of those random scam notifications of like random lonely people, you know those. If you have had them, and it's just like what for me, it never meant anything because it's just it's text. It's text. It means nothing. It means, but I've always had a different mindset through life than most people. But knowing that most people aren't like me, they could easily get taken in by such sweet words. Well, I guess they were supposed to be sweet words. But yeah, especially those who are lonely, they will easily fall victim to a scam.
Materials Red Bull sent to be mounted, I was also getting the sense that the walls were closing in on him. One day, Red Bull told me his team leader Amani asked him with menacing calm why he was spending so much time outside, referring, it seemed, to the walks when Red Bull would talk to me on Signal and generating so few new clients. Maybe, Amani suggested, a beating or some electric shocks would increase his productivity. Then Red Bull also told me new surveillance cameras had been installed, one behind his desk, one in front. I told him all of this meant he should immediately stop messaging me from the office. My editors went further. They insisted that for Red Bull's safety, I should stop working with him at all until he was free. When I broke that news to Red Bull that our reporting process was finished, he told me, to my surprise, that he wanted to leave the compound immediately. His escape plan was to forge a document claiming that he was under police investigation in India. He hoped his bosses would let him leave temporarily to deal with the situation.
I'm very worried about that they're going to know that it's fake and they're going to punish you.
Let's see, just try, and I have a hope it's work.
One afternoon, 2 weeks into my communications with Red Bull, I received one of the worst emails I've ever opened in my life.
The people catch me and now they get my phone, everything. They beat me and now maybe they kill me. I am trapped. I have no way to get out. They have my personal phone and my ID card. If there is anything you can do, please help me.
From Red Bull's messages, it seemed like his bosses hadn't detected he was talking to me, but were punishing him for trying to escape. Soon after, he messaged again. His captors had locked him in a room, he wrote, and demanded 20,000 yuan, about $2,800, for his release. I felt sick. Journalistic ethics forbid paying sources, plus paying a ransom would reward these human traffickers, and yet this was a man begging for his life. At the same time, a dark thought had crept into my mind that I almost didn't want to acknowledge. What if Red Bull was scamming me?
That's where my mind went. That's where my mind went. I mean, he's been, and that, like, that's the thing, that you get locked in that kind of environment. Who knows? Maybe they wanted a payday. Yes, it's a dark thought. It really is a dark thought. That person's suffering, yet your mind goes to, well, because you're constantly hearing scam, 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 scam. This is how it works. This is how it works. You bait the person in. You let them know something bad is happening. Again, so reminds me of back in the day. It's just like, hey, can you transfer your topics over to this? My screen has cracked. My fingers are bleeding. I can't message anymore. It's so stupid, so annoying that it's just like, follow this link. Follow this link. Yeah, so it's always brings up red flags when they're trying to ask for something.
Clear that he definitely was a real person inside a scam compound. But what if this had been the scam all along? Hook a journalist, make him feel responsible, then demand payment to save his life. I frantically consulted experts for advice.
What we've seen happen is people are victimized and have their money stolen from them from scammers. And then the scammer flips the script and says, hey, I'm actually the victim here, just like you. I just need some money to get out. Would you pay my ransom? And you can imagine that that would be very effective on people who have already been brought in by emotional ties to this person. It's another way of scamming.
My editors were firm. Wired would not pay Red Bull or his captors. They worried, as did I, that he might be deceiving me. And still, I had to operate under the assumption that Red Bull's nightmare was real. For several excruciating days, I didn't dare reach out to him. If his captors found out he was communicating with a reporter, they'd kill him.
Do journalists pay their tipsters for crazy story? No. No. My mother, who was in law enforcement, they have CIs, but the CIs are given nothing but like leniency or things like that. Or like, let's say you're helping an officer. The officer will come to bat for you and like put in a good word for you if something bad happens. They'll put in a good word for you, like, oh, they helped me through X, Y, and Z, and then they get a lighter sentencing, even if they are still doing stupid things, because they know they're going to get a lighter sentencing. But it kind of works the same way. If it's, I'm trying to think, because there are those like the FBI's most wanted. Oh, if there's a positive report on this person, you can, or if your report leads to the capture or arrest of whatever this person is, you'll get around $10,000. You know, that kind of thing. That's when it is, but it's not the journalists never pay out, I believe, because eventually you'll have too many people creating false stories. Too many people creating false stories just for money. Even worse, this day and age, someone will create an AI story, try to sell it to you. As soon as you bought it, then you're out of money. You've been scammed.
But then Red Bull messaged me on Signal to say that he'd been given his phone back so they could find someone to pay his ransom. I risked a call.
Hello, good morning.
So how are things?
Things are not going good because I have also fever.
He'd been repeatedly beaten, slapped in the face, kicked, and forced to confess to forging the police documents. His bosses even mixed a mysterious powder into his water to make him compliant. It had made him unnaturally talkative and confident, but then gave him a rash on his skin. He was denied food and water for days.
I also sent the message to the Indian embassy, no response. Nobody is going to help me, I don't know why. When the luck is bad, nobody helps.
Not long after that call, Red Bull sent me a kind of confession, written as if he thought he might die in his concrete room.
I said I never scammed anyone. That was not fully true. The truth is, the Chinese bosses forced me to bring 2 people into the scam. I did not do it by choice. I feel guilty about it every day. That is why I want to tell the full truth now.
One victim lost $504, the other about $11,000. He gave me their names. I located one and reached out, but got no response. By the compound's own rules, Red Bull should have earned a commission for those scams, but they never paid him. Later, I looked back at the picture of the office whiteboard Red Bull had shared early on. On it, I could see quite clearly the Chinese name the compound had given him, Ma Chao, next to the sum of $504. I had, until then, entirely missed this. Just days later, something else unexpected happened. Red Bull told me the compound was packing up. The office computers were boxed, the staff moved to a new building, and everyone was ordered to keep working from their dorm rooms. He had heard rumors that a police raid was imminent. During all of this, Red Bull was separated from his coworkers, forced to sleep on the floor, fed only sporadically, often only leftovers or rotten food. He lost weight, he was sick with a fever. For trying to escape, he was treated more or less like a dog. Unbelievably, that's when Red Bull took the biggest risk of all. Because of the move to evade a raid, security measures in the compound had been relaxed and his coworkers had brought their work phones into the dormitory. Red Bull saw an opportunity. While one of his coworkers was sleeping, he secretly added his own phone as a linked device on the WhatsApp of the coworker's work phone. Then, by scrolling through that WhatsApp chat and recording his own screen, Red Bull captured nearly 3 months of the compound's hour-by-hour internal chats. Thousands of conversations between workers and their supervisors, documenting its scams, quotas, punishments, manipulations, and daily operation at an unprecedented level of detail. Nearly 10 gigabytes of evidence. Here at Wired, we would turn those screen recordings into 4,200 pages of screenshots.
I have never seen anything like the materials that you showed me.
What struck you about this workplace?
Well, it's a slave colony masquerading as a legitimate business. It's run as though this is a car dealership. And so it's really creepy to be reading texts that are a leader sending out suggestions and inspiration about how to hit these goals when
you gotta scam enough people. You gotta nosy up like the sleazy car dealership.
in fact, the goals are theft of money. People are disappearing. People are being beaten if they don't make their sales goals.
Just days after he made those screen recordings, still trapped in the compound after his escape attempt, Red Bull sent me something else. Videos of dozens of men lined up outside a compound by Laotian police. The raids had begun. They turned out to be part of a trend of high-profile fake police crackdowns in the region where workers are briefly rounded up, then quickly released and sent back to work. Red Bull's bosses had been tipped off and escaped those raids, but the move had left them in cramped conditions with their work disrupted. As their operation hid from the cops, Red Bull begged the bosses to let him go. He argued that he was of no use to them. He had no money, and clearly there was no one in the world willing to pay his ransom. He was dead weight, taking up space when they were already crowded into their temporary building. Shockingly, his bosses agreed. Rather than kill him, they told him he could leave. They gave him back his passport, but told him to get into a car without most of his belongings, not even his shoes. He left the Golden Triangle wearing only flip-flops. To scrounge enough money to get home, he borrowed from his brother and from a scam compound recruiter who he promised to go work for, essentially scamming a scammer. After weeks of buses, trains, and cheap flights, Red Bull made it back to India. Red Bull had rescued himself, and despite the fact that I'd never paid him anything, not even his ransom when he was held captive, he continued to send me materials he'd smuggled out of the compound. Now there could finally be no doubt. Red Bull was real. A few months later, I flew to India to meet him in person. All right, here he comes. He was thinner than I expected, quiet. He had the same shy smile I remembered from our first video call.
You look great. Yeah, it's really good to see you.
His real name, he told me, was Mohammed Muzahir. We spent a few days together, and I learned that the brave young man I'd been communicating with for months was now broke, traumatized, sleeping as little as 3 hours a night, haunted by the people he had left behind and by the 2 victims he admitted he'd scammed under coercion.
So now that we're publishing this stuff, is this a happy ending to your story? Is this, in fact, what you wanted?
I don't think so.
Actually, if I tell you the truth, this is not the happy ending of my story. This is just a journey I started because I left a lot of people there. A lot of my colleagues are there working under pressures. A lot of women working under the pressure of Chinese bosses, 14 hours, 16 hours, sometimes without food. So honestly, I'm not happy with the ending of the story because the memory is still there. I'm still thinking about the people who are victim of this scam.
When Muzahir isn't working or applying to jobs in universities, he scrolls obsessively through reports of scam operations. The operation that trapped him, he's learned, has already relocated to Cambodia, a country that's become by some measures an even safer base for scammers to operate from. By messaging his former coworkers, Muzahir says he's determined that the compound is now based in the town of Shrey Tong, a growing hotspot for scam operations. One of his old bosses, too, confirmed to Muzahir in text messages that the compound is still recruiting new workers, victims trapped in a system of modern slavery masquerading as a job.
We're talking about buildings the size of hotels that are filled with human trafficked victims forced to do this work. The only winner here are the Chinese organized crime syndicates that are running the whole operation. They are the leadership. They are the ones who are building these compounds, who are bringing in the human trafficked victims, who are laundering the money out, and it's leaving population decimated on both sides.
How did this whole experience change your ideas about human nature, like what you think of human beings?
I have no word to express, but I just want to tell you, I see the brutal and the dark face of the humanity.
Muzahir still believes that telling his story matters. He chose to risk his life and to reveal his real name and face, in part to inspire others to come forward.
When someone read about me, then a lot of Red Bulls stand up and speak.
Many victims of these scam slave colonies never make it home. And never before has one spoken out from inside like Muzahir and survived. Even then, his whistleblowing hasn't shut down the operation that enslaved him as he intended. I can only hope that what he shared and the sprawling humanitarian crisis it reveals will help persuade the world that it's finally time to stop looking away.
Yeah, that's not going to change anything because, again, I see all that, and all I see is just parallels with, well, everywhere in the world that utilizes like a foreign immigrant. Like people think they're applying for these dream jobs. They think they're getting like this, their future, the future for their family, everything lined up before them. only for them to have everything taken away. I mean, isn't it, wasn't that like a goat's life? A goat's life? It was literally a man who flew to, was it the UAE? Was that where he was flying? What was I forgot where he was flying, but where he was flying to a more Middle Eastern location for a good job, only to have his passport taken away from him and forced to work as a slave, only to find out the person he was working as a slave for wasn't even the person he was supposed to be working for originally. But the fact that that kind of stuff happens, even in the US, we utilize the fear of, oh, you're going to lose your job, you're easily replaceable type of stuff. It's not as bad, but it's still bad. Of course, in the US, we don't want actual visa holders. We want illegal immigrants, because the illegal immigrants are far cheaper. But every nation literally does the exact same thing. It's not just Chinese nationals. It's not just India. It's not just Japan. It's not just Mexico. It's not just, the US. It's everywhere. Everywhere in the world has their own version of it. Some places are more extreme, some places are less so. But the fact that so many people just view human beings as a sheer commodity, just a simple commodity, nothing worth investing in. People aren't important. Human beings are just something to be used. Again, utilizing the golden shackles as something to appease people, making them want to shackle themselves instead of being a free person. They're willing to shackle themselves for just a little bit extra. Just a little bit extra.
You guys got a video?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait, like that.